Hi, and welcome back to Country Cooking and Living. Today we're going to make my sticky sweet chicken. This is a staple in our house. It is usually made at least once a month or every couple months. It's very popular with the kids and adults alike. The recipe can be altered for more spice, or you can take out more spice, but it is something simple. First, you take a package of chicken. It doesn't matter what brand. And you're going to divide it into 2 Ziploc bags. The giant gallon Ziplocs. What you're going to do is you're going to take and open it up, put your hand through, and I fold them over like this so that they stand up a little bit. And you got your 2 bags ready. You're going to open up the package and you're going to divide the meat in half. I usually try to count them out first, and I put them on a plate. But the reason why is so that I can count them out, and if there's any bigger ones, I try to even them out in the bags. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So there's 13 pieces. Try to find the smaller ones and put them in sections first, because the smaller they are, there's going to be more room. So what I try to do is I find the smaller ones and the bigger ones and I separate them. So there's one big one and a decent size. So by the time you're done, you'll know which ones you're going to put in the Ziplocs. But basically, you're going to pick one bag that's going to be smaller than the other, and you're going to want those smaller chickens in that one bag that's getting the one extra chicken. So since there's 13, there's going to be unevenness. So one's going to have more than the other. So you divide it in half. And remember that one chicken is going into the smaller bag. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and since this one was the smaller bag, you're putting the 13, the little one, in there. Now, the next stage is the spices. So I'm going to take a break and come back, and I will show you the next stage. Hi, and welcome back to Country Cooking and Living. Now, this recipe calls for brown sugar, white sugar, onion powder, garlic powder, paprika. I make my own celery powder. You can use celery seed and grind it down. Or you can use celery seed, but you'll still have the pieces. Remember that. And I use salt. So here goes. I'm going to be taking 1/3 cup of white sugar and 1/3 cup of brown sugar. This is only for one bag of the chicken that we will be using. So remember that there's 2 bags, so you'll have to do this again. You do not want to make it a double batch, like putting it all in together, because then it won't be even for the bag of the chicken. So do one bag like this all together and then do it again. Then 2 tablespoons of onion, 1 tablespoon of garlic. You don't have to stick paprika in there, but you can. This is 1 tablespoon. I like to use the smoked kind. I use a half a teaspoon of celery powder. You can use more if you want. and a half a teaspoon of salt. Whatever the celery is, you should put like half the amount of whatever that is for the salt. So now all we have to do is mix it together. I like to mix it together in the bowl so that it evens out the mixture, because you do have brown sugar in here that makes it sticky, and you do have white sugar in there, but the white sugar isn't as sticky as brown sugar. Once you've got it all mixed up, the fun part starts. You have to pour it into one of those Ziplocs of the chicken. So I'm just making more space. I came up with this recipe a while back because I wanted something that wasn't going to be too spicy, too sticky, not too sweet, and something that the kids would really, really like for all time over the years, like winter or spring or summer. So when you're done, it should look like that, basically all mixed. Take one of the chickens, take this mixture, and you carefully pour it in the bag. With the bags like this, where I showed you how to bend it, it makes it easier for it to stand up, and it makes it easier to pour in, as you can see. Because now it'll stand up, as you see. Now what you're going to want to do is, at first, you're going to want the air to be in there, because we're going to shake it. This is usually a job for the boys, or whoever's over that's having dinner with me. And you just shake it. You want to evenly coat it. Yes, it's going to be powdery. That's okay. You want it to be, because it's going to absorb all the stuff in this. Now, once you do this, and you've seen that it's pretty much coated, and there is some extra, we're going to take out the air now. Now, I only open it up a little bit, and I take out the air. Squeeze the air out, because what's going to happen is that this is going to consolidate the powder and even it out more to being sitting there, because it's going to marinate. So, as you can see, there's not hardly any sugar, but there is a lot of sugar. What this is going to do is it's going to take out the moisture out of the chicken, and then it's going to pull it out, and it's going to absorb it later. This is a marinade. You're going to want to do this, if you have the time to do it, about 2 to 6 hours in advance. If you're doing a fast one, 2 hours needs to be, because you need to soak it for at least an hour on one side, and then you flip it and you soak it for another hour. I like to do it where it's 6 hours. So when you're done and it comes to the first hour, or 3 hours if you're doing it for 6 hours, you flip it, because that, as you can see, it's all settled on that one side and you want it to go back down. So I'm going to take a break and I'm going to do the second bag. Do the second bag exactly how you done this one. And then when you're done doing those 2 bags, put them in the refrigerator and start your 2 hours or 6 hour process. Hi, and welcome back to Country Cooking and Living. As you can see, now I have 2 bags, and you can see that it's starting to bring out the moisture. So right now, I'm going to put it in the fridge. I'm going to sit it in there for 6 hours, but I will be going in the fridge and flipping it at 3. It is your choice to do it at 2 hours or later to 6, but this is what I'm doing. So by the time I come back from the next break, it will be 6 hours later, and you'll see the next process. So we'll be taking a break. Thanks. Hi, and welcome back to Country Cooking and Living. As you can see, I've taken the stuff out of the fridge, and I wanted to show you the difference because I've made another batch of this. This is at 3 hours. You can see that there's still some powdered stuff. And you can still see that there's still a lot of powder. Now, with this one, this is the 6, and you can see that there's not as much powder, and there's still not as much powder. So there is a difference in the moisture bringing it up. Now, when you decided that you're going to cook it either at the 3 or later or at 6 hours, you will add 1/3 cup of water to a bag. You will shake it up, and then you'll be putting it into a casserole dish or a baking pan. So the next thing I will be doing will be taking a break, and I will be doing that 1/3 cup of water in the bag, shaking it up, making sure all the rest of the little powdered sugar and spices and everything gets worked in, and then I'll be pouring it into a casserole dish, and I'll show you that when I'm back from the break. Thanks. Welcome back. Now I have foil, and we're going to try to make sure that it's measured from the pan as much as we can. This pan is much bigger than the other one by like an inch or 2. So you're going to go around the edges, and you're going to make it as tight as possible. Hold it up if you can, and make sure it's very tight. Once it's tight, go on to the next one. Now, I'll tell you this now. This is going to make this part sticky, and this is going to make into a gravy. And that's another process that I have. So now, as you can see, this is much smaller, but I'm making it tight. You do not want it to have holes in it. You don't want any air to come out because it's going to steam it almost. And now it's going to go on a cookie sheet, and it's going to go in the oven. And you're going to put it on the oven for an hour, and at 350. So we're going to go to a break, and we'll come back, and I'll show you what I do afterwards. Welcome back to Country Cooking and Living. Now that we have steamed it for about a half an hour, you can see all the liquid that's coming in. And now we're going to flip it. This helps the sauce stick, and it helps the sauce get stickier in here, and then when it cooks another 30 minutes, it gets into the other spots that it missed. As you can see, it's already starting to cook it through quickly when you do it this process. And you do the same thing to the other dish that you did. So this is the first one, there's another one, but you do the same process. So we are going to cover this back up and cook it for another 30 minutes in the oven at 350. Welcome back to Country Cooking and Living. Now that this has been cooked for an hour, we're going to take these and we're going to flip them once before we place them in my warmers. Okay. So these now are going to go into my warmers. As you can see, this is a warmer. And I try to fit as many as I can. So that's one already. And now for the other ones. As you can see, it's sticky. And we are going to place a cover on this, and we're going to let it sit for a minute, and then we're going to make the sauce. So here's the cover, and we're going to go to break real quick, and I will show you how to make the sauce. Welcome back. Now we're taking the two pans and we're going to take the sauce from one to the other. One's usually a little bit more runnier. You're taking that and putting it to the thicker one. So we're going to scrape it down. And we're going to pour it into this one. Now, you can do one of two things at this point. You can either do how I'm going to show you and how I do it, because there's this one sifter, strainer, whatever it's called, that I use. And then there's a another method that if you want all the sauce like this, how it's sticky, 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 you can leave it. But I usually make this into a sticky gravy sauce, and I use some to go over the chicken to serve with, and I also have some to put over for gravy on the potatoes. I usually use mashed potatoes. And as you can see, I'm scraping the sides. And mixing. As you can see, it's dark and it's very flavorful. Okay, now that we're back, again, I'm going to show you the next part. Now, when you do this sauce, and most sauces that you do, if you use a powder, it's going to be more of a granulated, and that's what we're doing, is we're taking that and we're getting the granulated part out and leaving the flavor of the sauce. That's what I'm doing here. This part is real simple, and this is a fine strainer basically. It's actually a sifter, I believe is what it's called. I could be wrong. And you just take and you let it strain. And when you're done, you have this liquid. As you can see, it's, you know, going down. And you're going to have the granulated stuff up on the top that's going to be stuck in there, and you'll just have the liquid. This shouldn't take that long at all, especially if you do this. And as you can see along here, you can see that the stuff's already getting stuck. That's what you want to do. I usually serve this over the mashed potatoes and some of the sauce over the chicken. And then I have usually corn on the cob, or corn that's been off the cob that I cut off. And I have salad with it, or green beans. But as you can see, all that's sticking now. Seems like a little bit of work, and yes it is, but the end result is actually worth it. I'm just trying to go a little bit faster for the video, but usually I just leave it here for a little bit and it does its job. Because usually you can just set it and forget it, but it'll just take a little bit of time of dripping. But after that, you can either heat it up on the stove for about 5 minutes, or you can just serve it plain as. If you heat it over the stove for 5 minutes, it will thicken it up. I usually don't, but there is sometimes that I do, if I really want it to be thicker. So, since you've already gotten that part, I like to do this sometimes if there's too much. As you can see, there's chunks now of the thickness, and you're going to have to do that too. But do this until you get all of it done. When you're done, just put it over your chicken and over your mashed potatoes. Sometimes I like to have it later for dipping with sandwiches. I know I'm bad, but it's as easy as that. So we'll take a break and I'll show you the end result, and then I will show you the finished product with food. Hi and welcome back. So now you can see the chicken steaming, and I wanted to show you that this is what's left over from that. This is that granulated that I'm talking about. It's still straining, it's still draining, but not really, as you can see. It's like pretty much stopped. So I take this, and there's not much, and I go over it a little bit as a final stickiness. And then I have this left. I put this over so that I can put it on the warmer, and I don't turn it on because I don't need to, because I want it to keep that moisture in. But when I do the potatoes, I have this in another container where you can take a spoon and just drizzle it over the potatoes. So in a little bit, when we go to eat, I'll show you that. Welcome back, and this is the final product. As you can see, the chicken with the sticky gravy over the mashed potatoes and homemade ranch for the salad, and this is what we're eating tonight. So thank you for watching, and hope to see you next time. Peace, love, and hope.